I'm Felix Hall,
Yeah, great.
and I was in E Troop of the 38th Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron, and we spent all of December during the Bulge defending the town of Monschau, which was in Germany. And the thing I remember most, it was cold. They said it was the coldest winter that they ever had in Germany, and I believe it. Because I'm from Philadelphia, and I never had a winter like that in Philadelphia.
Well, I'm Glenn White, and I'm from Philadelphia too.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm from the coal regions up in Pennsylvania. But I was drafted when I moved to Philadelphia with my father. And from there, and I was in armored. I was in half tracks.
Yeah.
And so CCB command was actually taken out of Metz, and then we were the first ones really into Bastogne, but because of security, we don't get too much publicity. The 101st gets the publicity.
Of course.
But we were in there. And after a period, of course, we were anti-aircraft, and we fired machine guns, which had tracer control, so we weren't supposed to fire at nighttime.
Yeah.
Because we would spot, our positions would be spotted. But in any event, we were there, and so that the armored actually, after the airdrop, after the skies opened up and we had the airdrop and we were able to get more ammunition than that, they decided, well, there might be a breakthrough, and so we need some kind of a fire brigade to get there. Yeah. So they didn't have much left. They had a couple of half tracks, and we had a honey tank, and we had an armored car, and they put us right into the center of Bastogne. This is my Christmas Eve story. And so on the 24th of December, we were there in the center of Bastogne, and so we were waiting to be called to have to do something. So we were down in the basement of a building. Well, at that time, all of a sudden, over the top came some of the Luftwaffe, and they dropped bombs. In fact, they hit a little hospital that we had there, and they hit that right there, and we got out and had to get the people out of that. Well, of course, then the hierarchy said, hey, tracer control or not, we really don't have any aircraft. We had no 88s or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these guys and we're going to put them and spot them all around Bastogne. And so that's what they did on the 25th of December. And so then we were able to knock down a few of their planes. But that's just sort of a little story that I relate.
Well, our outfit, we moved into position on the 1st of November. The 2nd of November, it started to snow. And it snowed for weeks. And we were in the position, and we were on one side of Monschau, and the Germans were on the other side, because they were still in the secret line, which was on the other side of Monschau. And we knew where they were, they knew where we were, and that's the way it stayed until December the 16th, when all hell broke loose. And so our commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel O'Brien, he was a West Pointer, and he said, we're staying where we are. Don't think about leaving. So we had to set up, if they came down the road to our position, we would defend it as best we could, and then we would fall back into the farmhouse, which was on the property, and defend the farmhouse, but we were not to leave. And as a result of our actions, we didn't leave, and we got a distinguished unit citation for that battle. And like I said in the beginning, it was cold, and it stayed cold. And that's about all I can remember about that battle.
Yep.
Felix, did you all have adequate clothing? for
No,
the-
we did not have adequate clothing to keep our feet warm. We did have overshoes, and we take the overshoes and stuff them with straw, and that kept our feet warm. But as far as clothes, we had tanker jackets and pants, but no real winter clothes as such. And we didn't ever get winter clothes. We had sleeping bags, and from our position, because we were a self-propelled artillery unit, we had a tent that sat right next to our assault gun, and we slept in there at night with sleeping bags, but no fires, no nothing at that time, because it would give away our position. But, the Germans did know where we were, but they wouldn't fire at us because we would fire back. And had one captured German soldier asked to see our automatic artillery. We had 6 guns in the unit, and we could fire 45 rounds a minute out of the 6 guns. And during the Battle of the Bulge, from the 16th of December till the 5th of January, we fired 8 tons of ammunition out of our 6 guns. And that's all as I can remember.
I heard there was a shortage of ammunition.
No, we didn't have a shortage of ammunition.
Your group did not?
Because our outfit, each assault gun, we had a trailer that we trailed behind us, and that carried our 75 millimeter howitzer ammunition. And the trailer had a quick release. If you had to drop it in a hurry, you could leave it behind. But we had enough ammunition.
But the armor didn't, because the 105 howitzers, which were on the M7 Priest, they would go ahead and they'd have to fire long, fire short, and then fire for effect. And they were down, I believe, to 6 rounds for the base piece at that time. And then, of course, the air opened up, and they were able to get resupplied in Bastogne, and that did happen. But,
Wasn't the weather an issue?
when you were talking about the weather, yeah, we wore, we had 2 outfits, of course, and we wore them both at the same time. And we did try to keep warm, but what happened is that on the 26th is when the 4th broke through and got into us, and then we got our mail, and for Christmas I got a bag of malted milk balls, which was sent from my mother. And I always remember, and so I had these, but about then, I developed an abscess tooth, and I start losing the sight of my right eye. And I was taken to the medics, of course, and they didn't have anything there, and I was able to get out. So they got me out, not aerovac, but by ambulance getting out of there, but it was filled with people with trench foot. And so they wouldn't allow me to take my barracks bag or anything else. But I ended up with a little ammunition box, put my malted milk balls, and that's all I could take back out of Bastogne. But that's when I got out of Bastogne. It was right after the breakthrough.
Did any of your people in your regiment have frostbite or?
We weren't, well, see, we were in armored, so we weren't infantry. We weren't down in the foxholes. Those in the foxholes did get frostbite. Trench foot, it was rampant. Big swelling.
How was the food?
The food, well,
K rations.
we had K rations and C rations, but
D rations were all gone. They chocolate bars.
on Christmas, the cooks did manage to come up with a turkey for Christmas dinner. So we had turkey for Christmas. But C rations were all right, better than K rations. And then later on, we got the 10 and 1s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Came in the package, which was better food
Yeah.
than the other stuff. Food wise, we didn't do too bad.
Yeah, I had my Christmas dinner on the 26th when the 4th Armored came in. The 4th Armored did it.
Turkey too?
Well, I don't know, but I do remember that was my first cooked meal for a while.
Something with meat. Do we have any questions from the? How about what was the temperature when you were there? What would you say? Was it in the minus degrees?
Oh, about 15 below.
It was cold.
15 below?
Yeah, that was a guesstimate because we didn't have a thermometer, but everybody figured it was about 15 below. And that was all of December.
The whole month of December?
Yeah. We never saw the ground, the snow never melted until March.
You said December the 16th, all hell broke loose. What happened then?
On the 16th, well, that's when we got artillery barrage in our area, and it was foggy, but the Germans managed to fly, and their ME-109s were flying over, strafing, and we couldn't understand why our Air Force couldn't fly, and they could. It was later explained when they just didn't do it. We always said they were back in England drinking tea.
Well, no, we were down at Metz with the 10th Harbor Division and CCB Command, and so they pulled us out of Metz, and we didn't know where we were going, and we actually had covered our guns and everything, and started packing. And we ended on up in the Luxembourg and on up, and the 17th we got into Bastogne. But there was somebody there before that had turned the signs around a little bit. And some of the signs were changed.
To trick you on going the wrong way?
Yeah, but, well, of course, I was a private, so I was on the half track, and we followed the person ahead of us, but there was a little strangeness.
Well, there were some German paratroopers in our area. We did manage to capture a few.
Yeah, and they wore white outfits.
Yeah.
They had
They were
white?
prepared for the snow, we weren't.
Were you outnumbered, would you say?
Oh, yeah, we were outnumbered, yeah.
And they were around because we would have passwords and that, and then it got to be that they knew the passwords, so we had to go ahead and we'd go ahead and say, hey, do you know anything about Babe Ruth? And so on, and if anybody you met, you'd have to start talking to them about, to make sure that they were, because we had a few that.
They had some that spoke fluent English.
Oh, yeah,
That were,
they
Oh, yeah,
recruited,
they spoke English.
they
Wow.
recruited saboteurs that, some of them came from America, lived in America before they went back to Germany, so they spoke excellent English.
so you had to be very careful about that.
Oh, yes.
And what were they trying to do, the saboteurs?
Well, like he said, they would turn the road signs around, so you would be going in the wrong direction. And they were trying to cut communication lines, All outfits had telephone lines running between units, and they would try and cut those.
Yeah, there was not a line. In other words, we were infiltrated in that area.
So when you caught a saboteur or a German, then did they go to a prisoner of war camp? I mean, what did you do with them?
Sometimes they went to.
Well, you'd file them back, but after Malmedy, there was a little bit different outlook. many times by some of, especially the 101st. They were the ones that were in charge of our area, the 101st. And so they handled all of that type of thing.
Yes, after the massacre at Malmedy, attitudes changed towards German soldiers.
Why is that?
Because we
You
realized
heard of it, it cut through.
that if we were taken prisoner, they were going to kill us. So we acted appropriately.
Mm-hmm. And I hear the German prisoners of war were treated a lot better than our American prisoners of war.
Yes.
No, I couldn't tell you about where I know that the prisoners were taken back into Bastogne, and they did have a good many.
Do you have any messages for today's youth?
As far as military goes?
Yeah, well, all of today's youth. You know, they're not teaching much American history in the schools anymore.
No, I realize that they don't do much history in the schools anymore, which is a sad thing, because if you forget the past, then you have to live with the future. And the way I see things in today's world, I wouldn't want to be a youth anymore, because this world is one mess.
It is, it's a mess.
Well, I always loved history, and I was a history addict really when I was young. But I look and I read today, even in many of the library books, and even about what I was involved in Battle of the Bulge. And the unfortunate thing is, much of the information, maybe because at that time it was for security, but a lot of the information doesn't seem to be accurate. There seems to be a lot of misinformation.
I think about your generation as a generation when everyone in America pulled together. We had Rosie the Riveters, stateside, people that were in the manufacturing plants trying to get as much to you all on the front line as fast as possible. People pulled together, and they really were all in one on the war effort.
Yes, I have people ask me, why did you do what you did? It was our job. That's what we were there for, to do it. And today, there doesn't seem to be anybody's job to do anything.
I think our youth have kind of forgotten about all the sacrifices, and they may not even know about the sacrifices that were made for their freedom.
They don't realize that because nobody will tell them. And what information they get isn't accurate, and so they really need to learn from history so as not to repeat it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they won't have to go through what you all went through. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all spending this time and helping to keep your stories going on video.
All right, thank you.